Hi, John. Good to see you. How are you doing, sir? I saw your email come in. I'll get back to you. Sorry, I haven't answered yet. I did see it though.
No worries.
If you'd like to introduce yourself, I'd love to. If you want to share kind of what you're working on or with your campaign, I'd love for you to share if you'd like right now while we're waiting for people to get logged in.
Sure, thanks. Very briefly, hello everybody, I'm John Carpenter. I am co-founder of a company called Bast Lab, and we are using industrial hemp fiber to engineer high-performance textiles primarily and some other materials. And we've launched our first, Mandy's referencing our first engineered consumer textile under the Every Daily brand, Indigo campaign last week. That's geared towards athletics and also for homes. And we've been testing them for about a year and a half, and we've been passing them around and we've got good feedback. So we're excited to be incorporating hemp and incorporating organic cotton and getting them out in the marketplace.
It's awesome.
Fantastic. Very interesting.
Thank you.
Eric, I know you're welcome. Welcome as a new official member. You guys have been actively involved and had other members, but you're bringing great new people on. I'd love to, if you want to introduce yourself as well. And I actually have a gentleman that's been pretty involved in the automotive space that is sponsored, I guess. He's a young kid, but he's interviewed, I think you've met him, James Doyle, but I kind of told him about the press release that you guys had recently in regards to tires and the rubber. And he just lit up and wants to help really move product with some of his big sponsors. And so I'd love to connect you. But yeah, if you don't mind doing a quick intro, we've got a small group so far. And so.
Sure. So Eric Osterman, I am with Heartland Industries. Our focus is the plastics additives and replacing those with hemp. That's our first market entry point. And as Mandy said, very focused in the automotive sector right now. And of course, obviously, there's, I think for everybody, right, there's huge growth paths with hemp beyond just your initial entry point. So we're looking at all those types of things. I've been in manufacturing for 25 years and also building supply chains globally for the same amount of time. And I ran sustainability for a large company for the last 15 years. So I come to Heartland as a sustainability chief and working to just, again, advance this wonderful material, sustainable in so many different ways. And it can certainly do a lot with our climate change challenge we have, and looking to really materialize on that as an industry, not just individual companies. So,
thanks, Eric. I would love to just do a couple of really quick intros, highlight some of you that have been involved, some of you that are members. Like I said, this is a smaller group than normal. I don't know what I was thinking this week when I scheduled like 10 meetings that are recorded for myself. So it makes it very difficult to invite everybody to every one of them. But I'm really impressed with the group that's on here today and really excited. Adam, I don't know if you're available. I would love to introduce your project and just kind of share what you're working on. I don't know if you have a minute. And then Greg, I'd love an intro from you if you're available. Adam, hi, welcome. Thank you very much for joining as well.
Hi, thanks, Mandy. Yeah, so I'm Adam. I run a business called Cropley, based in Switzerland. We focus on digital identity and traceability in agriculture, primarily focusing on the human aspect of things and bringing value from the bottom up. We're also working closely with the IOTA Foundation in Germany, developing systems alongside them, which will hopefully be open sourced in the next 6 to 12 months, which is pretty cool. We're also working on a convention, which we're putting on in November, which is primarily focused on DLT and blockchain in agriculture. Again, we're very big fans of the human aspect of agriculture, focusing on rural development and bringing value back to the farmers. So that's kind of basic introduction for me. So hi, everybody.
Well, and with that, we have an opportunity, if any of you are interested, and obviously there's a few that I have my eyes on or my sights on as far as being able to open up a potential panel discussion to introduce the technology to the agricultural space and help really educate what opportunities there are in this type of technology. Notice I don't use any of your acronyms, Adam. I'm doing that on purpose. I just keep this very basic, the technology and what it really does for agriculture. And so trying to bridge that gap and then bringing the hemp space into these everyday conversations that are both tech and big ag. So we will have a panel that is specifically focused around hemp and how technology relates to the hemp industry specifically within the ag. So thank you very much, Adam. But if any of you say, hey, I would really like to participate or I'd like more information, don't hesitate. Adam, if you want to drop your contact information in the chat, you're welcome to, or else feel free to reach out to me as well. But Greg, I'd love an intro from you. Hello, it's good to see you. Welcome.
Hey, Mandy. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Thanks. I'm actually at an airport right now. I should mask up, but I'm drinking a beer, so I've got cover. My name is Greg Gerdeman. I'm a neuroscience and pharmacologist by background. I've studied cannabis and pharmacology and the sort of biological rationale of medical cannabis for 25 years. But I've recently am in a new venture that is technology and ag based with a couple of colleagues of mine who are economics and market bias. We are launching a commodities exchange specific to hemp and hemp products, focused at first in the Southeast out of Nashville. It's called NashX, the Nashville Commodities Exchange. Actually had a great conversation with Jesse Henry from Heartland on Friday. I'm trying to reach out to different folks. I'm aware there are other commodity exchange approaches to hemp. We have a very smart one with a good software sort of core to it, and an understanding that an exchange is really much more than that, but community and finding out what farmers need. And we want to play a part in helping to elevate the different aspects of the supply chain in the situation we're in, where there has to be, buyers and sellers finding each other in a good, transparent way. So we're playing a role in that. I guess I'll stay tuned for more about that from me. And thanks for Mandy having these events. It's hard to keep up with everything you're putting on, but I love it. Now I'll drop my contact info, and I hope to meet everybody involved.
Awesome. Thanks, Greg. There are so many great people on this call. I say that usually there's 5 or 6 pages, but I feel like there is a definite strong core team here. And so I really encourage you guys to connect and reach out. But out of being respectful for Colin's time and the fact that he's also in an airport, putting this together. And so I really appreciate this as we're talking about some of the technology that you guys are working on and some of the value add. I encourage you guys to ask questions, get involved in conversation today, especially as it's a smaller group, we can open it up for that. And I have time to stay longer. So if you guys do want to chat or break off or join in conversation, please feel free to stay after as well. And then I also encourage you guys to really take advantage of the opportunity and connect with each other offline. Pretty soon, we're going to be launching the Hemp Hallway, which is a platform that you will have access to as members of the Global Hemp Association. And we will also have channels and portals for other organizations, but an opportunity for us to create a roadmap of who's who within the industry, create collaboration and different channels for collaboration, list projects, job boards, things that we're selling, classifieds, things like that within our portal to our other members or to other people involved. We're going to launch with some beta members within the next few weeks and then put it out openly after that. With that, we will also be rolling up a couple of other opportunities and other organizations onto the platform. But this really is this top of funnel that then feeds into other platforms similar to something Jennifer's working on or Greg is working on, and so forth. So I'm really excited to help use this to create and drive the community and the connectivity. So with that being said, I want everybody to join. Please support us. Thank you so much for all of you that are and already have. Thank you, Sean. I appreciate it. And then with that, Colin, if you'd like to give an intro and kind of highlight what you're working on and then dive in, you let me know when you're ready for me to share the presentation as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess you could go ahead and put the first slide up.
Yeah.
I'm Colin Wakefield. I'm in an airport right now, so that's the mask and all that. I do not have the same cover of drinking a beer at the moment, unfortunately, as much as I would like that. I'm also here with my colleague, Mauricio Santos, who is our IT director in Brazil. And he is really the brains behind this platform that I'm going to show you that we have that is live right now for crops in Brazil, such as soybeans and cotton. So to start off, I'll give you just a little bit of background around about Bureau Veritas, and we'll take it from there. So we can move on to the next slide, Mandi.
Let's see if we can. Yep, gotcha.
And well, I guess so on to the third slide. So we'll do a quick at a glance.
Sorry, I'm trying to get back. Hold on.
Oh, you're fine. Well, our core thing is shaping a world of trust. So that's the company's main motto, if you will. Everything is really built around that and surrounds that. So we are a business to business to society company. We're very focused on ESG and sustainability. So it's our responsibility as a mutual service provider as part of what we call the TIC industry, testing, inspection, certification, to shape a world of trust by ensuring responsible progress is made by doing it through quality, safety, managing sustainability risks to society. And so it's a lot of BV has a lot of things that we participate in, both with nonprofits and others all around the world, not simply just focused on, say, the bottom line, if you will. And so this is just a little information. So we have 75,000 employees worldwide. Altogether, it's about 400,000 individual different clients. And we have over 1,600 offices and laboratories in over 140 different countries. So when we say we have a global footprint, we truly do have a global footprint. This is just a snapshot of our revenue and people as well. When it comes to agriculture, North America, not quite at that 14%. It's actually a little bit higher than that. And Latin America, as a matter of fact, if we're specifically looking at agriculture, it makes up about 40% of our business instead of 9%. So this is the revenue. So, and we can move on to the next slide here. This is again just going over our values that we hold it as the highest tenets for the company: trust, being ambitious, humble, responsible, and having an open and inclusive atmosphere and environment. So really fostering that strength of diversity, no matter who you're working with, what the background is, all of that sort of stuff. Everyone is, it should be included. So, and this kind of brings us to sustainability. This is one of the big undertakings that Bureau Veritas has taken. We've just recently launched what's called the BV Green Line, and it's solely focused on sustainability throughout all of the different sectors that our company is working in, whether that be hemp to agriculture, food, oil and gas, construction, ship inspections, you name it. Sustainability is one of the biggest things that we're always pushing for to reduce the carbon footprint, especially of ourselves and our inspectors going out in the fields, and everything that's related to making sure that we can be as sustainable as possible. On to the next slide here. So this is just three quick examples of what the U.S. public at the moment feels about sustainability. 1 in 4 Americans say brands who don't communicate about how good their efforts are viewed as not as trustworthy as those who do. 73% of Americans say they support sharing information digitally that cannot fit on a label. It's one of the things I'll talk about further on in this meeting. And again, this third one, which I think is almost shocking to me at least, was that 57% said that they have a greater trust in companies that offer more information than is required on their products. So if you've ever seen those labels that have 2 pages or whatnot, or just it's the whole entire back thing of whatever, a box of cereal or something like that. That's the more information, the better when it comes to having that. If you're just going, you show that you're going above and beyond at least what the government regulates or mandates, or even the industry itself. You can go to the next slide. This is our BV Green Line, which I mentioned a couple of slides ago. There's a lot of information here, but if we look deeper into the sustainability services that we offer, so altogether we call it the Green Lines of services at Bureau Veritas. It includes everything from the start of things such as resources and production, talking about renewable energy, looking at sustainable use of natural resources, carbon footprint of specific industries. How do you calculate that? How do you manage that? Of course, how do you reduce it? Then moving on to traceability, consumption, everything down to build. And gosh, hemp is almost touches on every single one of these points here. Where it's stability, it can be a building material with hempcrete and all that. And of course, at the end is our social ethics and governance strategy, which is having good social practices, not supporting businesses say that we're big in Brazil, not supporting anything that is they're growing with on recently deforested land as an example, and making sure that we're not promoting that sort of stuff. On to the next slide. And so this is just a quick overview of our agriculture. And so this is agriculture in North America, services that we provide and touch on. You'll see on the left side, on the expertise is precision agriculture, product and food and safety inspections and analysis, animal welfare audits. And I talked about the certification side that Bureau Veritas has a very, very large and strong footprint in certification. And that includes, that is auditing, SQF, HACCP, GMP+, BRC, all of those different standards and things. So it's being that independent auditor, that verifier to go out there, whether it's in the field or to a facility, and conduct those audits and make sure that factories or whoever the customer, the client is performing up to the standards that is expected of them. And then of course we do outside of hemp in the more traditional agri world, we have laboratories here in the US and Canada and all over the world that do your standard kind of grain analysis. We'll go out into fields, collect samples, we do vessel attendance for the big soybean vessels that get loaded in New Orleans or South Texas or Pacific Northwest and go over to China or whatnot. So everything from that and to just basic testing in our laboratories, say wheat for falling number or damaged kernels. It's been a really bad year for the wheat crop in South Texas as an example. So we've done a lot of extra testing there because a lot of the wheat has ended up being feed wheat and it's not even able to get exported or barely able to really meet that it usually meets. Move on to the next one. And this, again, just kind of goes into a little bit more detail of what I was just talking about here. But if we look at the full supply chain from farm to fork or from farm to retail brand, this here is just an extract of the services that we're currently offering around the world. Again, touching on all the different types of certifications, audits, and precision agriculture, trade services, and which is what we're about to come up to with the BVSurvAgri. This is again just kind of another thing that showcases all the different areas that Bureau Veritas is involved in, different divisions of the company that we touch on, just about everything, especially when it's related to agriculture in some way, shape, or form. You can see here that mapping services, weather mapping, satellite, soil fertility mapping. A lot of these are really big topics, especially for the hemp industry that we talked about in the last couple of weeks, especially. Crop yield management is one that we're really big on as well. This is our auditor footprint, the number of, so we have 104 auditors in North America, which we classify as Canada and the United States. But we quite a few down in South America. You can see 1,869 in Europe. So we're very, very large globally around the world. And again, it's just to stress that footprint of we are that third party company that can be that verifier, that trustable company to certify a facility that's up to par, or that the products that are being shipped from South America to North America, if they're being imported in the States, are meet FSVP requirements, and also any sort of whatever the import requirements are. This gives us a breakdown here of the number of auditors that we have and kind of what their specialty is, and how they're broken down. So you can see that we have 328 auditors that their focus is specifically on carbon, and 3,000, the vast majority, over 67% of our focus is on environmental management systems. So it's very, very heavily focused on the traceability, on this sort of the upstream network, if you will, and making sure that the suppliers are, again, I'll use Brazil as that example, that you're not growing soybeans on deforested land, or that's currently embargoed because it was only deforested 2 or 5 years ago. This is where I'll invite my colleague Mauricio to probably speak a little bit to this. SurvAgri is our platform that we have that is currently live in Brazil. It operates for the cotton crops, soybeans, corn, soybean meal at the moment. Cotton is probably the one that I think is the closest to hemp, at least for hemp fiber, because it gets baled as well, and the traceability steps of it are very similar. If you're talking grain or whatnot, then certainly our platform will be much closer on the soybean side when it comes to the track, the way that the commodity moves. So this is it's an app-based thing. It's a combination that we use of auditors and inspectors that go into the field. Auditors in the field. Sorry.
I was afraid I lost you. You're okay.
Oh.
Keep going.
You can hear me? Okay, great. So yeah, it's a combination of auditors in the field, geomapping, RFID tagging technology with our partners down in South America that allow us to be able to complete the entire supply chain. At the moment, for soybeans, we're not able to trace all the way back to the specific field and the specific farm or farmer, to the specific seed. I apologize. Just because of the way that it's once it's harvested, it's shipped in bulk. Once it goes into a grain bin, it becomes a lot harder to trace it. So you take a mass balance approach, is what that's called, where you can trace, if you have 10 loads of trucks that go into one grain bin, then we can know for sure that all of the soybeans that went into that grain bin, they came from those 10 farms, or that, but when it comes out the other side, and you don't necessarily know. In theory, you have a first in, first out, but of course, you might not necessarily have. If you're withdrawing 1.5 trucks worth, that the output might be all of the first truck and 50% of the second truck, 50% of the third truck, especially just with the way that things will shift. So it makes it a little bit harder to trace that supply chain for things that move in really bulk things. But when you have commodities that move in bales, like cotton does, and you're able to apply RFID technology, it makes it so much easier to track and trace it. Move over to the next slide here. This BVSurvAgri is built on different individual modules. So it's very customizable in that we can add a new module for a specific commodity or for a specific need, or if there's simply a new add-on or service that we need to add, it can be added as an independent module on top of this BVSurvAgri. So there are some commodities that maybe right now, for example, cotton with BVSurvAgri platform, it doesn't utilize quite all of the same things that soybeans do because it's shipped in a different way. I see Mauricio, you're see here now. Is a great time to, I think we're getting to your slides here right after this. So the truck tracking and grading.
Yeah, and in addition to that, our clients can access our system, API system, to get the data that belongs to them. So it's a totally integrated system that we can start in the field and finish in the loading port and discharge port, and you can have all this supply chain information about your cargo. So this is a splash screen of the system, how it works, a dashboard that you can follow what is happening in the field. If you have, for instance, a truck that is loading your goods that is going to the port, you can see how the total volume loaded in a truck, for instance, and what's the weight of the discharge port that's going to be loaded and exported to another country.
And this is a good, I like this picture on this map here, because it gives you the trucks have different colors on them. So the red is trucks that maybe were supposed to load that day but didn't load. Yellow is things that are in progress, and greens are ones that are usually these slides. Maybe if you hold on for a second, so starting from where we were at the system logs and recordings, this is the first screenshot on the left. Go back one more slide if you will. Perfect. So on the left, I've just, as an example, I've used this. We assign a work order number, and it's got a classifier's name. Everson Souza Oliveira is out there, and he classified 4 trucks yesterday. So the screenshot on the right is just an up close about what he had done. So you can see that down at the bottom, you have the occurrences, classification, and the time log. So within the system, you could click on the classification button, and that could take you all the way to all of the grading for each of those 4 trucks. The time log is pretty self-explanatory of what it is, and the occurrences is if there's any notes that the inspector might have made or anything like that. It is also a system that works completely offline, especially considering that you're out in the middle of nowhere, might not be cell service or Wi-Fi or anything like that. So the inspectors can log all of their information. They can take the pictures, the videos, any and all of the data that they need to do. It works completely offline, and then as soon as there's cell signal or Wi-Fi, it will then upload and update the data with the system. Slide, Mandi. So this is just a view of if you click that, the time log hyperlink in the previous slide, just what that looks like. And so you can see that here the inspector had checked in at different times. And if this was live, I could click on the action button, the little magnifying glass on the right side, and could see more details if there was a specific note or something on that log. So, showing that actions are logged, and it logs the exact GPS coordinates of what he was doing at that time. So this one is simply a check-in. More than likely that was the truck arriving, I would imagine, but and you also see there that it has a map. This slide here is is from the classifications a couple of slides back. If you had just click that hyperlink, so this is all the grades. So the top 4 lines are this on the left side in that red box. Those are the 4 trucks that specific inspector had was on site to grade and supervise the loading of them and the dispatching of them. So he took samples at the time, and these are not quite real-time results, but they are the results of for this particular one for those 4 trucks that inspector did yesterday, as well as the results previous to that. This is just a little bit more on the truck tracking and grading. You can go, the system allows you to dive very deep into it in terms of how much you can add. Mauricio, some of these on the orders slide, would you mind going over some of those like little action buttons that are clickable?
Yeah, it was the previous slide.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So in this slide, you have the results of the samples that was taken in the truck, and every time that you take a sample and record the data, we have traceability of who changed any kind of data like moisture, pouring matters. If any one of your inspectors change, you are able to see, and our clients also have access to the system. And inside of that, you have a dashboard that you can check how much it was loaded in a specific warehouse or silo, and how much of this silo went to a specific hold of a vessel. So we have, for instance, a truck that goes straight to a vessel and a hold of a vessel, or this this total volume, the grains, or even any kind of product go to a silo. We can check the input, and also when it goes to the vessel, and you take the samples and the results as well, and we can take a report. And in this report, you can see if the sample is out or in the limit of the standardization. So the client can also, it's very dynamic system, so the client access the system, and he can approve or disapprove any kind of cargo according to the results that was taken during the sampling. And this it's not only for us, our backlogs, but in our client, but also for our inspectors. So we digitize all the operations for all services that we have. So our inspectors don't go to the field using papers. They use a smartphone or tablets with this application that he collects all data and then exports to our platform that is in cloud based. So he can work offline if he doesn't have internet connection, and then when he gets to the office or hotel or home, any kind of place that have internet access, he can export the data, and you can receive. There is an app for clients that you can install in your Android or iOS device, and you can receive notifications about what's happening during the loading or discharge of the cargo. And for instance, there is some pictures there that was taken as evidence, and you can check and share with someone of your ops.
It's a very friendly app at the base of it, both for the inspectors and farmers, clients, just about anyone who's using it at almost any level. Next thing is this is called ID Cotton. ID Cotton is a separate solution, but it is something that we have partnered with a few other companies. Specifically focuses on the RFID tagging. So it takes what we're able to do with soybeans and the other commodities that in BVSurvAgri, and takes it to the next level. On to the next slide. So it's a modular system. In Brazil, when you have cotton is harvested from the field, it's harvested into large round bales that are very, very large and not shippable. But so you'll have a RFID tag that is applied to them, so we know exactly which field it came from, which farmer it came from, at the time it was harvested, and the time that the bale was the tag was applied to the bale. So you see that moving through, and that touches the gateway. Once it leaves from there, these bales will then go to the gin, and they get turned essentially into smaller bales. So one large round bale will turn into four smaller bales that are more friendly to export containers. Is really what it's all about. I believe those are 460-pound bales each. But again, then once the gin processes the bales and applies the strapping to them and compresses them, the last thing they do is apply a new RFID tag to it. And then every step of the way from there, it continues to be updated throughout the BVSurvAgri system as to the track and traceability of it. So once the cotton is loaded into the container, you or the client would get an update. The system would be updated that the cotton has moved into, it's been loaded. Then once it has, then we just use regular geopositioning to track the say, vessel movements and whatnot, because unfortunately we don't have that ability to integrate with say MSC or these big steamship lines at the moment to physically track the container moving across the ocean and whatnot. But when it does get to the final end user, let's say in India or South Asia somewhere, and is unloaded from the container, you would just scan it again, and those bales are locked in the system that they've arrived at the destination. We would have our classer or our inspector at the destination, and if they needed to pull a sample, they could do that. And again, of course, that could be uploaded into the system as new analysis results here, which is kind of an extension of the previous one. So just a different kind of show of the supply chain of cotton. And what we start with we really start from mapping the fields and crop identification, crop monitoring before it's even planted, at the time of planting, in-field surveys, all of that sort of stuff. So it kind of goes along that process. Points 7 and 8 I have highlighted there just because that's that point in which it's leaving the destination or the origin country, sorry, and it's then going to arrive at the destination country. So that is the point, basically up until step 7, where you have the full traceability for cotton in Brazil. And then step 8 is when it arrives, when it's going to arrive at the destination. We have another platform. It's called Access BV. It's our customer-facing portal. Love to have tons of applications here at Bureau Veritas. So, where we have BVSurvAgri, Access BV is something that is it works kind of in collaboration with BVSurvAgri, if you will. But it's for all of our commodities, and all the information is is added to it. It's just a customer-facing portal that you're able to download and retrieve your analysis certificates or any time logs, any data, yields, farm weights, vessel logs, whatever it may be. The data is stored in that Access BV system. I really like my chains, so my traceability steps. So this is the idea here is to take essentially this Brazilian cotton and the traceability steps and to adapt this to the hemp industry here in the States, because that it does get baled after harvest, at least the fiber stuff, the hemp that's grown for fiber does. So it allows us to have that RFID tagging, so we can start at the very beginning from seed traceability when the farmer buys seed from whoever the farmer is buying it from, if it's certified seed or not, whatever he or she is buying it for, it gets recorded. That essentially that's the very first transaction on the block, if you will. And then you move down those steps. So at the moment, your planted area management that talks will help the farmers and providing them with the data that's certainly collected by being out in their fields and all of that, soil samples, all of that, in terms of, okay, you've done this rotation in the last 4 or 5 years, your nitrogen levels are this and that. We recommend that you should plant this sort of seed or this crop in the next 2 or 3 rotations to help soil in your land, and that's going to be the best for, especially from a sustainability point of view. So again, and then moving on to 3, these showcases the big round bales that I was talking about. Step 4 is scale, yard management, processing order. That's all about really the cotton gin when it is turned from that one large round bale into 4 smaller square bales or rectangular bales that are ginned, and then they'll get stuffed into the container, as you can see in cotton. The analysis is done by a machine that's called the HVI machine. It gives you all of your factors like GTEX, your staple length, your conformity, essentially all of the very important things as to how soft is the cotton, how strong is it, how uniform are the fiber lengths, and so does it meet the quality specifications that whoever the customer has purchased or is expecting to receive at some point on delivery of the cotton. This step 6, that identifier generation, and Barapa is the Brazilian Cotton Association. So that generation is and this is in collaboration with the ID Cotton. So that is essentially a blockchain generating another not a block, but that's when the RFID tag is applied to the bale. So you have that bale ID is specified and it has its own ID, and that never changes and is immutable. So, and then it would flow the rest of the way from once the RFID tag has been applied at the gin, when the cotton gets, say, transferred from the inland gin via truck to the port of Santos in Brazil, and it stays in the warehouse for a month until it can get loaded into a container. Every time it moves in and out of the warehouse, you have your RFID get scanned, so you get a notification. Okay, I know the cotton has moved here now. I know it's arrived at the warehouse. I know it's departed the warehouse. I know it is loaded into the container, and later, depending on whatever your destination is, okay, it gets scanned when that container has arrived at the destination and is unloaded at the spinning mill. So the idea is to then take this and apply this platform that we have that is active right now down in Brazil to the hemp industry here in the States. This offers total cotton control and traceability in terms of the weight loss, shrink of the cotton. It's very moisture prone, especially when you stick it in a container and ship it across an ocean for 45 days. You're going to lose or gain some weight on the way to the destination. Quality control as far as all the things that I talked about. While the RFID does add some cost to it, it does, the economics of it does make it, by being able to process things faster, there's much less manual input required, much less manual data entry. At the end of the day, it is a time saver. It's fantastic to make things just much more efficient, much faster. So, for cotton, at least, Bureau Veritas will certify the cotton because it originated in Brazil, and we were the ones that
Colin, I want to add that we are helping to implement the same BioID system in other continents like Asia and Africa. They work with cotton bales, but they don't have a BioID system that to start the traceability. So as we are moving forward with BioID system for Africa and Asia, we can also move forward with the hemp industry as well to implement this new BioID system for hemp.
Yep, and that's a good point, Mauricio, and at least in the cotton world, one of the big things that is a challenge essentially to the full traceability from when it's planted, from when Farmer John plants it to when it's a t-shirt on the shelf that you're looking to purchase. The big kind of thing that the missing link at the moment is from when it arrives at the yarn spinning mill, generally in Southeast Asia, China, from there to when it's spun into that final product, t-shirt, carpet, or whatever, and goes to that the retail store and the final consumer. So it's trying to get that buy-in from the big brands, your Tommy Hilfiger, your PVH, all of those. So.
Okay, so I have some questions, right? This is a lot.
Yes.
This is something that comes up a lot on the, especially in our textile calls and in the beginning of this when we first started, is how do you manage once that RFID tag has to be removed for processing, right? How do then I know, or what is this solution that we potentially can fix as a hemp industry that is such a problem in the cotton industry from once that RFID tag has to be removed for processing? How do you manage that?
That's a great question. At the moment, I mean, that's one of the reasons why where we have that break in the link, essentially, because once it reaches the yarn spinning mill, generally speaking, in South Asia or Southeast Asia, they remove it, and I mean, it then gets into their mill, and we lose the traceability of that. So that is certainly something that we ourselves are also looking to we're working on ideas and ways to track that. And it has to buy-in from these mills, but gosh, I mean, I've been in some of the cotton will get spun, and it goes in, I mean, it might be miles of lines that they have, that it's going along. So it's I know that for cotton RFID tags, there is a chemical tag that can be done and applied. It's certainly more costly than the standard physical tag that goes on there, but that might be one solution is applying a chemical tag that degrades over time. Of course, that is the downside of it is, especially in things like cotton will often get stored for a couple of years or whatnot before getting used, especially in China with their, if it gets shipped there, it might sit for 6 or 7 years before it actually gets spun and used into something. If you have a chemical tag applied there, by the time it's used, it might be gone. So.
Right. John, I saw you nodding your head a couple of times. Do you have any questions or anything that, this is something that we have an opportunity within the hemp industry to make changes without having to disrupt the existing channels potentially on the cotton side. Where do you really see this as a need or an opportunity? I guess, John, I'm asking you as well, for the industrial manufacturing of the hemp fiber for textiles.
Yeah, I think Colin hit a number of nails on the heads within hemp. You don't have, unlike you talked before, the standards that address the quality of hemp fiber that are being developed that are, I think, fundamental and condition precedents for a system that Colin has set up. Concurrently, though, I think that in the United States, if we're able to create, and Colin, you can speak to this far more eloquently than I can, but you can probably truncate a number of the different steps that you have just purely in terms of geographic reach and the handoffs that are done in the United States. And so I'm wondering how long it took you to put this in place to set up, with Brazil as the test model. And then if you think through the different steps that can be removed or accelerated in the US, can you do that, to Mandi's point, in the US in a more efficient and in a more rapid manner? And what are the condition precedents that you need fundamentally to get it moving? Not necessarily to optimize it, but fundamentally to get it moving. And I have a zillion other questions, but I'm not going to monopolize the conversation. So I'd love to catch you offline at some point. Thank you, Colin.
Yeah, absolutely, John. Yeah, that's a bunch of questions. I'll try to answer them in line there. I think that the biggest one, so ID cotton right now is, we have 22% of the Brazilian growth is currently participating in it. I want to say it's been about a 5 to 6 year push, and in some ways it's still kind of dragging some participants, kind of kicking and screaming into the 21st century with it. So there is a little bit of pushback or just hesitation. Sometimes it's the cost, sometimes it's they don't want to have that, they don't see the need to have that traceability, at least until you start having the big brands, the Hanes and all of your big clothing brands and whatnot, at least for cotton, in the end really start pushing and asking for sustainability and the traceability. We want to make sure that we bought cotton that wasn't grown on deforested lands, sort of stuff. Well, we can trace it all the way to when it was spun into yarn, but if we can't trace it all the way through the supply chain, then that's the issue. So we're still working on adding it and building it out and kind of to get that full industry buy-in, if you will. I'll use an example of European rapeseed. Many years ago, the EU implemented they implemented some new rules that called for, essentially it had to be sustainable and had to be a certain way and not using once it was glyphosate or something like that. Initially, it's sold at a very high premium versus the rest of the rapeseed that was available on the market. I believe it took about 7 years until today, where essentially the entire rapeseed market it now operates under that new standard that was there. So while there was a premium for a time for this sustainable rapeseed, it has now become the standard. And if you're not providing the sustainable stuff at the moment, then you're now selling it at a discount. So there's now that incentive to be a part of that standard and so that you can sell it at the market price. John, to go into to move this and bring it into the United States, like you said, to cut out a few of the steps. One of the big challenges, I think, is going to be the manpower. And there's a lot of things that I think could be automated that we currently do in Brazil, with on-site surveyors going into farms that could be done or economically feasible in the US on exactly on an electronic or automated sort of system.
So opportunity definitely to connect on growth or building out this so that it is sustainable within the US and scalable. Any other questions? I know that we're running up on about an hour now and I want to be respectful. I feel like this was a lot of kind of information about what they're doing. What types of questions do you guys have about implementation or how it may affect your business or anything along that line? Do you guys have any questions specifically? Drew, I know you deal a lot with the supply chain, and Jennifer, I know that if you can hear me, you're very much involved. But Drew, do you have any questions or anything you'd like to add?
I mean, it's insightful. I look forward to the day that the scale exists where this will come into play and be of value. I mean, at this point, I think it's very much supply shortage. I mean, the plants in field have yet to meet the need relative to processors, which still are figuring out what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, and where is it going to go for different manufacturer specs. So hopefully we'll get there someday, but I don't know that right now we are there, but I see value and benefit. Curious about some of the more on the certification side, knowing that the industry has yet, I think, to establish a lot of required metrics to determine what the product is. I mean, on the cannabinoid side, we have grain, there's phytosanitary certificates and such. On the fiber, bast and herd, I don't know that we know yet what's in the stock and how to be able to quantify that to make it of value, be able to track and trace it with certified documentation that provides buyer and seller, valuable knowledge. So there's still a lot to figure out in the industry, but the technology is certainly there. And then of course, blockchain, how to tie it all together.
Daryl has a really good question. Daryl, thanks. What % of the industry must buy into the plan before the US can roll out would be feasible? Colin?
That is a good question. Gosh, I think a lot of that depends on if you roll out the product as something that's focused on, say, hemp fiber, hemp CBD, or hemp for feed. Probably, I think hemp for CBD might be one of the more easier ones to roll out, because you have the little bottles of that on the retail shelf with the barcode that you can have that you can scan. So it already makes it a little bit more traceable from that. To have buy-in from the industry, gosh, 50%, it really would not have to be large. A couple of larger players to have the platform as a test bed would be where we'd like to start out, so that we can work out the kinks. There's certainly going to be things that work in Brazil that do not work at all in the States, or simply aren't needed, and vice versa. So I'd say it's probably at least something that we could have maybe up and active within a year or so, based on just kind of dependent on how much buy-in we get and what that test bed is.
Gotcha. Okay. Jennifer, I don't know if you're on, maybe you are. I would love to kind of hear if you're open to or interested in what you're working on, or if you have any questions specifically. Jennifer's got a platform, and I know that it was or may potentially not.
Sure.
Hi, I'm going to call you out, put you on the spot. I'm so sorry, but I know you can add so much to this, and so yeah, I am.
Yeah, Colin, I have a platform here in the U.S. We're partnered with a tier 1 technology firm. My background's aerospace, and so I went and yanked them off the bench, and it's a little bit comparable to what you're doing, but the infrastructure is built out because we've been in all these other sectors, and so we support Kroger and GM and Toyota and all these larger organizations that we know that we'll see hemp play a good role in the future. But it's really interesting what you're doing, and I think it's great that you're doing it. There's a lot of synergies there of how to collaborate and work together to build out a better infrastructure for sure.
I totally agree with that, and I'd say if I didn't have a flight to catch here in a couple of minutes, Jennifer, I'd love to connect with you offline.
Yeah, I'd like to connect with you too. I think we can fill some of those gaps too from the time we offloaded truck through through product manufacturing. There's some ways we can do that that gets that full streamline of from the time the plant is the seed is planted to product. And there's some great ways to do that and technologies to do that to make that work. So we're excited about hemp and where it's going and what we can do in regards to increasing sustainability and lowering operational costs significantly.
Yeah, no, that's very exciting. Yeah, so yeah, we'll definitely we'll get together afterwards.
Sure.
I see a question from Kevin, and I think this is probably going to be the last one I have time for, about hot crops traced to destruction. The answer would be yes, absolutely. So if it was, you know, it's sampled from the field, sent off to the lab, and it tests hot. You know, unfortunate is what it is, and you know, so that would get logged, and the sample, of course, would get logged that it itself has been destroyed, and then I guess it would come down to the individual state or the tribal program and whatever the specific rules and requirements are that they have for destroying the crop as to, you know, how it would end up being traced, but certainly would have some sort of verifier at the end of the day to confirm that yes, it has been destroyed and you know, it was witnessed or whatnot.
Thank you. Okay, so I know that you've got to run and I really appreciate you staying. I will continue to stay on if you guys want to stay and chat, but Colin, there's a couple questions. How do people get in touch with you guys if they have questions or want to reach out, want more information?
Yeah, I'm gonna put my I'll put my information, my LinkedIn into the chat here, and as well as my email, and that's the best place to start.
You're hard to hear now. You're hard to hear with the airport. They're finally speaking over you. It's okay, no big deal. I really appreciate you taking.
They waited until 3 or 4, so they were very kind.
See, perfect timing. Well, I really appreciate it. Are there other questions that I can open up? I know that tomorrow we have another discussion. Of course, I would have to look up. Michelle, I don't know if you know, or Fern, who's speaking tomorrow? Who's our guest? Oh, Dave Greer, I can't believe I forgot. So tomorrow we're talking about decortication and mobile processing facilities. And so we have that awesome meeting coming up. And then for those of you that may or may not have, Ross and a group of people are getting together to answer some of the questions on the banking problems, B2B solutions, payment solutions, but really getting down to the nitty gritty of more than just payment solutions, but finding real solutions for this industry, I guess, around the banking and payments. And there's 3 different roundtable discussions that I sent out. I'd love to open it up if you guys would like to attend. They're looking to hear from those that are processing, farming, they're actually selling and buying within the industry so that they can get to the real challenges that are had within the industry and open up some good solutions. And so it really is just roundtable discussion to get some questions answered. I invite you guys to attend. And then Michelle, do you have anything you want to add before we take off? And Colin, I know you may have to run, so if you do, I want to say goodbye, but thank you.
Yes, I do. I see they've called us up for boarding now, so I'm gonna head off. I did put my information into the chat there, and Mauricio was also linked to our group's website. So thank you everyone for your time. Really appreciate it, and have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you, Colin. See you later.
Colin.
Michelle, do you have anything you want to add before we open it up again?
No, other than just look forward to reaching out to folks and having the opportunity to speak with them personally and being able to understand what your needs are, how we can assist those. And also the very exciting times of the software as definitely have some great things coming. So thanks, Mandi.
And for those of you that don't know Michelle, she's part of our team. She's with member relations and she helps me with pretty much everything that I don't know. Her and Fern, I know Fern is on here as well. I saw her under Global Hemp Association. So thank you guys very, very much. Don't hesitate to reach out to them or any of us. And then if you hear from them, don't be startled that someone's calling to check in. We really want to know what we can do for you. So with that being said, I do open it up. If you guys would like to make intros or would like to talk about anything, I'm happy to stay on for a while. So I'll open it up. Anybody else? Who else is on? Jeff has some big projects that he's working on. Daryl, you've got some great things you're doing, working on. Take a couple minutes.
I can go real quick. Yeah.
Go ahead,
Anybody
Jeff.
interested in participating in research projects, email me, jeff@globalhempassociation.org. We are kind of in the team building phase, planning phase. So get in early.
I feel like a real jerk for not saying Jeff is also on our team. I cannot believe that I just did that. All of my Global Hemp Association emails are on today and I just dropped the ball, but Jeff is going to help us really put together R&D projects. We're building MOUs with different universities. There's investment capital that's starting to come in and are looking for who has product that's ready to go to market and how do we help create that supply chain. And so Jeff is really helping to put a lot of that together. And with that, we're going to be having monthly reoccurring meetings that kind of update people and then small group discussions around different topics. So that will also be accessible more easily through or more accessible through the platform. Thank you, Jeff.
This is Les Simpson. I have it in the chat, an 8-minute presentation I did for the National Veterans Association. We actually have a technology which is simply capsules. It was taken from the Blue Zone. If you've never heard of that, that's 5 areas in the world where people live over 100 very healthy. And basically you'd be eating the same food as they do. And we have clinical trials showing that it increases energy, stamina, for the labor force, increases the ability of muscles for engineers and so forth. It clears your mind. And love to talk to you about you or your employees, because this is one way you can support your employees during COVID when they're home, because it becomes the basis of a wellness program. So I'd love to talk to anybody about it. Again, my information there is in the chat. But
thanks, Les.
It's Les L. Simpson at wellnesstechplus.com. And of course, I'm a member. And 303-579-6881.
Thank you, Les. There's a couple of you that I don't recognize on here that I would love to hear from as well, but definitely members. Ross, if you want to talk about maybe what you guys are doing, that'd be great. Drew, Liam, Ruth. If you want to do a quick round of intros, I'm open for that. If it helps you guys, whatever works for you guys. It's all you, Ross.
All right. Thank you, Mandy. I have the good fortune of knowing many of you on this call, and it's always good to be with you. These are always great calls. But yeah, Westtown Bank and Trust, we are a very hemp-friendly bank to the point where we trademark the phrase hemp banks here. We're headquartered in North Carolina. We are not a typical brick and mortar bank. We've been around for almost 100 years, but our only branch is in the Chicago area because that's where we started. So we don't have a branch network, but that said, we can and do work with hemp businesses literally all over the country. And we provide deposit account services, merchant processing or credit card processing. We started an affiliate company late last year called Westtown Payments because we know that credit card processing is a huge void for the industry. And a lot of folks are finding that they like having their banking and their credit card processing on one place. And we do some loans in the space. To be clear, credit is still a tough nut to crack. We're still trying to figure out how we can do more from a credit perspective in the space, but we do have a number of loans that are SBA or USDA guaranteed. That's another specialty of our bank is government guaranteed lending programs. And so a lot of folks are not aware that the SBA does have a protocol for hemp businesses. So if we can help any of you or your friends in the industry, we'd love to talk with them. Thanks, Mandy.
Absolutely. And I'll give a quick plug. These guys are awesome. I've sent a number of people over to both Ross and Michelle and Tom over at the Westtown Payments, and You guys have been fabulous. So thank you very much for taking care of our members and taking care of the people that we refer over. I appreciate it. Anybody else?
Thanks.
Jim? Yeah, Jim or Daryl, I'd love to hear from both of you.
Hey, Mandy, I'd like to just talk one-on-one with you, take it offline rather than.
Absolutely.
It's probably best for my first conversation with you.
Yeah, no worries. Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
I'll be sure to share a contact link. I'm always open to meet one-on-one with you and chat. But yeah, I'll open it up if anybody else. I don't know if Daryl, you've got lots of things going on down in Texas and you're full of research. Liam, I'd love to hear from you.
Hi, Mandy. Thank you very much for the invite. Hope to join one of your roundtables there with the banking fellows. I'm involved in the building materials sector, so a very keen interest in the fiber market in particular, because it's very complementary to the building materials sector in particular. So I just came along for general information today. I'm also working a little bit on a carbon credit software and solution here for the markets over here in Europe. So again, I just made a connection there with Amber. I'm very grateful to you for inviting me along, and nice to meet all of you folks. It's 9:15 p.m. here where I am at the moment, so I'm soon going to crash out now. Thank you very much.
I love it. Well, thank you for joining. You'll have to come back for one of our construction and building materials. This is definitely a sector that's starting to pick up. I've recently started to co-host some product spotlights with Dave Cooper, and that has opened up some investment and distribution opportunities that we would love to bring to the table. So please, if you guys are working in that space, let us know. We'll definitely get you connected to some great resources.
Yeah, I'll drop you an email about that. I have to respond to your invite as well. I was just on holidays there for the last 2 weeks, so I was my mind was elsewhere. But thanks very much. It was in Greece actually, so it was nice there. But thank you very much. And on the building sector, I was in a meeting you had with Matty Mead there a couple of weeks ago. That was a fantastic event, and fair play for opening up the whole hemp market and helping us all network so effectively around the world. You're doing an amazing piece of work there.
Thank you very, very much. This is really, I'm passionate about seeing your guys' business. Jeff and I were just talking about this, that it's exciting when you see other businesses working together, and now partnerships are being formed due to meetings and appointments or connections that we've made. So it's pretty exciting. Anybody else? Would anybody else like to talk about anything or introduce themselves? I really will open it up. Ruth or Bruce, Noble, Daryl. I see your mute's not on anymore.
Yes, I was going to say, what did I see yesterday? South Bend Hemp delivered a whole trailer load of herd out for Hemp Creek construction. Shout out to them.
Woo! Thank you very much. They're, of course, doing lawn yard work right outside my door. So if you can hear that, that's what that is. It is me and my background noise today. But Daryl has an incredible amount of knowledge and resources. And so I encourage you guys, Daryl, I'd love to open it up and connect. You're down in Texas, doing a lot of great things, very well connected within the industry. So don't hesitate to reach out to him or give you a shout out. I'm selling your information now, Daryl.
Well, that's fine. I do all this pro bono anyway.
Good guy, great guy to connect with. Okay, well,
I travel internationally. I'm just working in Texas right now, so I'm close to the guys in the US. It's been quite helpful.
Awesome. Okay, thank you guys. We'll see you all later. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.